The trade deadline is in the books, and all eyes are on the offseason and next season. But what about right now? Today, I'll give you 3 reasons why Habs fans should get excited about the remainder of this season. Did you hear that? That's the relative silence around the Montreal Canadiens on trade deadline day. Yeah, it was pretty quiet this year. Kent Hughes made basically an AHL move on the NHL trade deadline day and played third-party broker for Nick Bonino. But other than that, not much happened. So in terms of roster composition and moving forward, the focus has really pivoted now to signing what UFAs and free agency and the draft and what will next year's lineup look like as hopes and expectations now for the next year of this rebuild start to come together. But wait, y'all, there's still 5 weeks left in this season. And believe it or not, there's actually some pretty fun things that Habs fans can look forward to during that time, and today I'm going to give you my 3. Oh, and stick around until the end of the video to find out what my overall trade deadline grade is for the Montreal Canadiens. Number 1, Cole Caufield's contract. Payday is coming. Oh boy, this is going to be a big focus for Habs fans. As Rick Stevens reported on the Canadiens Connection podcast, which I co-hosted with him last Saturday, preliminary talks have started between the Canadiens and Caufield's camp, but they're nowhere near getting a deal done yet. But what is the magic number going to be? Well, if we take a look at some of the contracts, similar types of contracts that have been signed this season, we saw Dylan Cousins in Buffalo sign in February a 7-year, $49.7 million contract. That's a $7.1 million AAV. That could be, when that happened, people said maybe that's a bit of a measuring stick. You could look also at Matt Boldy in Minnesota, who signed his 7-year contract at $49 million back in January. So roughly the same amount, 7 by 49, roughly for both of them. If you go back a little further to the beginning of the season, Jason Robertson re-upping with Dallas for 4 years at $31 million, which brought his AAV up a little bit to 7.75. Pasta just got paid. That's a $90 million contract for 8 years, but Pasta is at a different point in his career than Cole Caufield. So we look at the captain. We look at Nick Suzuki because he just signed his contract extension October 2021, and he signed for 8 years at $65 million. That's a 7.875 AAV with a modified no trade clause on the second half of the contract. So for the final 4 years of the contract, he's got a modified NTC. I think that it's likely Cole Caufield and his camp probably want to see a number north of $70 million total, might even be pushing the $80 million mark, being as he is going to kind of be as close to a franchise player as Montreal is going to get for the next 6, 7, 8 years. Given that it's the Montreal market, who knows? Maybe he'll get it. I don't think that they will spend that much more over their captain. So I'm guessing that negotiations are going to come in somewhere close to Suzuki, but enough to keep Cole Caufield's camp happy. I'm predicting an 8-year deal at about $65 million. That's an $8.125 million AAV. That puts him over the $8 million a year mark without being a wildly enormous contract. And I do think that there'll be the modified NTC as well on the back end of it. So it'll be fascinating. Habs fans are going to be so excited to see how much can Kent Hughes get Cole Caufield locked up for, and what is the term going to be. Second, now we know playoffs are out of the question, right? Well, not so fast for the entire organization. The Laval Rocket are actually on the cusp of a playoff position in the AHL. They are actually battling right now. They're holding on. They're holding on to the final playoff position, 5th place in the North Division. Now, granted, the Cleveland Monsters and the Belleville Senators are hot on their heels within a couple of points, but Laval is only about a point away from climbing into 4th place, which gives them a little more security. So Habs fans can get excited about the fact that, sure, the Canadiens are not going to make it into the postseason, but Laval might do it again. And once you make the playoffs, anything can happen. Laval went to Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Final last year, and they've managed to crawl out of the basement where they were at the beginning of the season, and they're actually playing a bit more competitively, and it'll be fascinating to see how they do. And hey, there are some legit prospects in Laval to keep an eye on and get excited about. Defenseman Matthias Norlinder, forward Jan Mysak, Xavier Simoneau is down there. You've even got guys who aren't prospects, but who are exciting to watch, like Anthony Richard. And of course, everyone still tries to keep an eye on Caden Primo, even though that ship has kind of sailed as far as him becoming likely a regular NHL goaltender, but still fascinating to watch his development. In fact, Kent Hughes' one and only trade on deadline day, trading away forward Nate Schnarr and acquiring Frederick Allard, a defenseman, was essentially done for this purpose in and of itself. It's to help bolster Laval on the back end, where they've struggled a little bit this year because of all of the call-ups, in an effort to help boost them and get them into the playoffs. So let's see what happens. And thirdly, it is time for the spotlight to shine solely on the young guns. Let them loose, let them play, give them all the ice time, give them all the opportunities, let them make all the mistakes, and give them all of the teaching opportunities and learning moments that they can. This is the time for the development. Guys like Jesse Ylönen, guys like Raphael Harvey-Pinard. I'm happy to see both of those two in particular now occupying a place on either side of Nick Suzuki on the top line. Caden Gooley, once he is healthy again, keep at it with him. Keep giving him the ice time. He's certainly earning it. Justin Barron, once he is healthy again, would love to see him continue to get more responsibility, more opportunities. And this is the time for that group of young prospects who are currently playing in the NHL. Spotlight fully on them. Let's see what they can really do. And for all of you watching, my feedback forum question this week is, what are you looking forward to for the remainder of this season? Is it something I talked about today, or is it something completely different? Leave a comment down below and let me know. If you like videos like this, if you've been enjoying Habs Hockey Report and the information I bring to you each and every week here on our YouTube channel, won't you take just a second and make sure that you've hit that subscribe button, tap the notification bell so you don't ever miss an episode when it comes out every Thursday, hit that like button, and most importantly, share this video on your favorite social media platforms. Now, I promised you at the top of the show that I was going to give you my overall grade for the Montreal Canadiens, and I do have to say, I give them overall for the trade deadline a D, a solid D. D for disappointing. If you want to hear why, of course, check out the Canadiens Connection podcast at canadiensconnection.fm. I will leave a link to that down in the description below. Last week, I fully broke down the pros and cons and gave a grade to the Dadonov for Gurianov trade. So you can watch that video right here if you missed it, and then meet me back here next week for another episode of Habs Hockey Report. Take care.